About the meeting today, and I would like to read this list to show you that we did invite every single state parliamentarian, all the Brisbane City councillors who we thought would have an impact on this decision, every Queensland senator and our federal member of parliament. So the list of people who did actually have the courtesy to RSVP to us. Having read that to you, I would like to read you the response that Bruce Flegg posted on his website on Friday. He did RSVP to Helen Rivers, who sent out all those invitations. He said, "I will not be attending the planned protest against the Kenmore Bypass. 30 years ago next year, plans to build the Kenmore Bypass and alleviate the chaos that local residents now experience every day were abandoned following similar protests. Protesters have been given every opportunity to participate in the consideration of the Kenmore Bypass and to put forward their views. Do you think we have? No. Exactly. The anti-Kenmore Bypass group have closely aligned themselves with the local Greens candidates and with the Greens political party, with the aim of derailing efforts to fix the disastrous transport situation. There is an existing road corridor and I am absolutely committed to the broader community," did you hear that? The broader community, having the right, that is the right, to have the corridor that has been preserved for 30 years for transport purposes considered for use to benefit the whole community. Did you hear that? The whole community. I hope that protesters are not again instrumental in causing another 30 years of inaction on local public transport and roads. What do we have to say to Bruce Flegg? I just had a couple of points. First of all, 30 years ago, the proposal by Russ Hinds was to build the corridor all the way to the Warrego. So I think it actually paints it very clearly what Bruce Flegg thinks about the Kenmore Bypass. He doesn't care if it goes all the way to the Warrego, and it should have 30 years ago. Thank God Russ Hinds' quarry interests went slack, and that is actually why we didn't get the Kenmore Bypass and the rest of the Moggle Pocket Arterial. The CRG and consultation process is not about what the best solution is, it's about how to build a freeway on that corridor we've just walked on, and what form the freeway will be. We have tried to align ourselves with all politicians. Those of you who saw me on the walk saw that I stuck very closely with Julie Atwood, who is actually the Labor member for Mount Omni. She had the good grace to come on the walk and see what we're so upset about, and because she can see that it's a bad solution for the whole of Western Brisbane. So, you know, we haven't just aligned ourselves. We have met with Councillor Jane Prentice, who is also very sympathetic to our cause and says this would be disastrous. Michael Johnson, Ronan Lee, who was then ALP, can I say that, Ronan? But we are delighted to have his support, and we are not going to turn away any support from anyone. We are not going to turn away from the wonderful support we've had from the Greens. We would be foolish to. We will take support, like we have always said, wherever it comes from, because we think this idea is ludicrous, and we think any rational person should also. Our group is not just a protest group. We are about good, safe and sustainable solutions for our environment and our people that will last into the long term. So he and others, why can't they examine those good solutions?
Put down bitumen, you take the temperature up to something like 190 degrees. It uses a hell of a lot of energy. And guess what? You use diesel trucks to do it. Overall, there there are 200,000 tonnes on a very quick pass of emissions associated with building this road. On the flip side, you save about 5,000 tonnes of emissions, assuming that the amount of traffic as modelled and the amount of savings happens. So 5,000 tonnes a year. In short, it will never pay back on a carbon basis. And I'll tell you this, it's a missed opportunity. It's a public transport opportunity that we could have had. Public transport has a footprint that is 1/50th of the footprint of single occupant cars.
I had Julie Apple's ear for half an hour or so walking along. I said to her, my biggest concern with all this is my biggest concern, they're not looking at the alternatives at all. I said, you know, we've got these great alternatives. We've got people in Moggill who've collected 2,000 signatures on a petition calling for a bridge to Waco. Is anyone looking at it? No. And I said, why? Why is that? It costs $70 million. They're talking about 700 million. Next to who in their right mind would want to have a freight route, which is really what this is all about, I'm convinced of it, coming through areas like this, like Toowong, you know, and in through the inner city. We have a freight route. Everyone supposedly, both political parties agreed to it years ago. They've been expanding it, Ipswich motorway, Logan motorway, Gateway motorway, they're, you know, duplicating it. Why the hell do they need another one through the western suburbs of Brisbane? And I said to him, and I put him on notice, Ronan, why would anyone who wants to represent this area want that? So,
when we were representing the koalas on the Eastern Tollway in 1995, the Director General of the Department of Transport told us that the construction of the Eastern Tollway was a given. Don't you love that word? It was a given. Well, they didn't build it, and his career as the CEO of Transport finished when the results of the 1995 election came out. Okay, so fight!
Well, we're pretty mainstream. I've got to tell you, when Bruce is trying to run a line on behalf of the LNP that building a new road is good for carbon emissions, I mean, I really think we're through the hook. This is bizarre. I mean, this is absolutely bizarre stuff. To have politicians presenting the view that building you a new road or cars will decrease carbon emissions is just loopy. It's just silly. The message that I've got, and I know we've got to finish, is simply this. The only way to stop the Kenmore Bypass is to make sure that there are Greens in the Queensland Parliament with the balance of power. The other parties don't want to stop it. We do. They want to form a government. They're not going to be allowed to build this road. Thanks for coming out today.